Good morning, fourth graders. I hope you had a great week so far, and I hope you had a great Easter weekend. Today we are jumping back into close read. We are looking at the text Life Under the Nazis. We are in, I'm going to flip over so you can see which packet we are still in. We are still in the packet that says week 4, unit 5. So we did, last week we did the text, the woman who helped Anne Frank dies at 100. We are keeping going in this packet, and we are working in this text, Life Under the Nazis, today. So before we get started, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on what this text is going to be talking about, kind of what we need to be focused on as we're reading. So today, this is going to be a nonfiction text. It's talking about life under the Nazis, and we know that this was a real event that happened during our history, and so we're going to be looking at what it was like to actually live in a Nazi-ruled area if you were Jewish. And we are learning today, this text is actually going to talk to us a lot about the importance of documentation and photo taking. And so we're going to learn about a Jewish photographer. His name was Henrik Ross. And so we're going to learn about what his experience was like and the documentation that he took and how it's important to document things throughout life. And also as a reader, it's important to understand how pictures really influence a person. And so good readers, they use pictures to help cue their reading and use it as a tool when they read. So making sure that we tie all those things together today is going to be really important. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and we know it's non-fiction, so we need to go ahead and come up with our topic and our key question. So when I was reading this, I read the first paragraph, and I want to do the same thing with you when we're looking for our topic. So it says, Life Under the Nazis. In newly released photographs by Henrik Ross, one photo shows a group of smiling children at a banquet table. In another, a couple looks happily at a newborn infant. In a third photograph, a young boy holds a furry teddy bear. Everyone looks content. Esther Brunstein knows better. Pause right there. So I know that this is going to be talking about what life was like under the Nazi rule, and that we're going to be looking at photographs of what that was like. So I'm going to say that my topic is, and today we'll go with our title. Sometimes it's not the title, but in this case, the title is a good topic for this text. Life under the Nazis, which means my key question is going to be, what is the author teaching me about life under the Nazis? Okay. So we have our key questions, so we can go ahead and get started. When I was reading this paragraph right here, I saw this word content. This word content just means happy or peaceful. So you guys can write that down. Happy or peaceful. Which is interesting because in this paragraph, these photos were taken in a Jewish ghetto or concentration camp, but these people look happy. So I'm really confused by this because I know from my study in the last few weeks of the articles we've read and the book we've been reading that the concentration camps and the Jewish ghettos were not good places to be. So I'm confused about why they look happy. Let's keep reading to find out. We're going to start back at the beginning because we want to read the whole thing again. In newly released photographs by Henrik Ross, one photo shows a group of smiling children at a banquet table. In another, a couple looks happily at a newborn infant. In a third photograph, a young boy holds a furry teddy bear. Everyone looks content. Esther Brunstein knows better. Ooh, this looks like it's going to be important because when she's saying she knows better, she's saying that yes, she sees this, but it's not everything that you think it might be. So let's keep going. With a magnifying glass, the 76-year-old native of Poland searches other photos, hoping to spot a friend or relative. Finally, she stops at the face of a young child. A shadow of sadness creeps over her. You see, when I see a face of a child like this, you know he did not survive, Bernstein told the New York Times. Bernstein is not looking at a family photo album, but at dozens of photographs taken during the Holocaust. The Holocaust refers to the killing of 6 million European Jews and others considered undesirable by the German Nazis, who were led by dictator Adolf Hitler during World War II, which happened from 1939 to 1945. So right here, I need to stop and ask myself, I'm going to go back to my key question. What is the author teaching me about life under the Nazis in this section? And so right here, I see that in some people took photos of, or Henrik Ross took pictures of people looking happy, but that's not always what it seems. So the picture may show someone being happy, but in reality, we know if you go back to our study of the Holocaust and this paragraph here and this paragraph here, we know that these pictures are not always what they seem, that they may look one way, but they could be, but there's a lot more happening behind the scenes. So right here, Hermione teach me, pictures during the Holocaust are not always showing the truth. Because we know this was a terrible time, so we know that these pictures right here that they're talking about may not necessarily be showing the truth. So let's keep reading. Life in Lodz. Bernstein was lucky. She survived the Holocaust, living in the notorious ghetto in the Polish city of Lodz. Bernstein and other survivors were in London recently to view for the first time photographs of the ghetto taken by photographer Henrik Ross. So right here, the author is teaching me that I'm going to put HR for Henrik Ross. Took pictures during the Holocaust. Let's keep reading. Located in central Poland, Lodz was home to one of the largest Jewish communities in Europe. The city fell to the Nazis soon after the Germans invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939. Almost immediately, the Nazis began rounding up Jews and forcing them to live in a small section of Lodz. Ultimately, more than 200,000 would crowd into the wall ghetto. Entire families were packed into a single room. What this shows me right here, when they're talking about this wall ghetto, they're talking about this place. They made people go and live in one place. They couldn't live wherever they wanted to anymore. They had to live in one place. So when they're talking about a ghetto, they are talking about a place where all the Jews had to live. So what is the author teaching me in these two paragraphs? That the Nazis forced the Jews into the Lodz ghetto. And we know that the ghetto is a small place where they were forced to live. I'll let you guys copy that down for just a second, and then whoops, and then we'll keep going. Let's flip our page. We just had, this was a short text day. We only have one page left. This is where we're going to start to look at the pictures I was talking about at the beginning. Or not look at the pictures, but start to learn about the pictures I was talking about at the beginning. So pictures of daily life. Not all the Jews lived that way. The Nazis selected a handful of Jews to run and police the ghetto. Those Jews were considered privileged by many. Privilege just means that you have more than somebody else. So you might have more freedom or more money or more opportunities, but privilege just means you have more than someone else. They generally had more to eat, they worked the best jobs, and they lived more comfortably than others. Ross was one of those Jews who was among the privileged. Germans wanted Ross to photograph a favorable side of the ghetto. Many of Ross's photos showed well-fed families, tailors and doctors at work. One photo shows a man and a woman kissing in a park. One picture shows a chunky boy in a mini police officer's uniform marching behind his friends. But if you dig deeper into Ross's photo archive, and a vastly different portrait of Lodz emerges. Ross also photographed the daily atrocities of the ghetto. So when we think about the word atrocities here, it just means evil. Evils. And so when I'm reading this section, I'm seeing in this first part, if we stop right here in this first part of the section, I'm learning that the Nazis wanted Ross to make the ghetto look like a good place. But in reality, this is what it was mainly like. That they were people who were experiencing really terrible things, but they didn't want people to know. That's why they had Ross photograph these better photos, because they wanted it to look good to the public. So right here, what the author is teaching me in the text is that Ross was told to take good pictures instead of showing the truth. But what we see is that if we look past some of the pictures of like the nice things that were happening, we see that he also took pictures of the terrible things that were happening as well. Let's keep reading. He took pictures of the starving people spooning soups into their mouths. He photographed others being loaded into cattle cars for the trip to the death camps where millions of Jews were murdered. Many of those photos have never been seen by the public until now. Ross buried them during the war and retrieved them years later. Today, those photos still evoke painful memories. All of these images are very much stuck in my mind. Aaron Zelberzak, who lived in Lodz, told the Times, "I still have dreams every night, and the photographs make it worse, which is why I don't like looking at them." So right here, the author is teaching me that Ross, he took real photos of the ghetto as well. So even though he was told to take only good pictures, he still took these other pictures as well. Okay. Chronicle of Evil Times. Like Zyberzak and Brunstein, Ross survived the Holocaust. He released only a few of his photographs to the public before his death in 1991. His son gave the collection to the Archive of Modern Conflict in London. Thomas Weber, who authored the book Lodz Ghetto Album, Photographs by Henrik Ross, said the photos served to illustrate a particular interpretation of ghetto life, adding to our understanding of the diabolical crimes of the Nazi Germany. So right here, these things that he took pictures of were crimes that the Nazis committed against the Jews and other people in the world. And so what the author is teaching me here is that Ross's photos help us to not forget these crimes. Whoops, you can't see that. There we go. Help us to not forget these crimes. The last thing we're going to do today is we're going to use our annotations to create a big idea. Remember, our big idea is going to be what the text is talking about altogether, what the author is teaching about the text in the whole thing. Rather than me give you the big idea, what I want you to do today is I want you to go ahead and craft your own big idea. Take it with you to small groups, either today or tomorrow or Friday when you're meeting with your teacher, and make sure you go over what your big idea was. Okay, so that's your homework. Create your big idea and take it to small groups. Also, on the back of this page, there are some multiple choice questions to go over, and you'll also need to do those to be ready for small group too. So take some time after our video to finish answering our questions and making sure that you have evidence. Make sure that you're going back to your text to answer those questions. Whoops. Let me have a great rest of your day, guys, and I will see you guys next Wednesday back on here. Work hard, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.